18. Michael Close. In 2020, Michael Close was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for fatally shooting Isabella Talas and attempting to kill her boyfriend Darian Simon. The horrific incident occurred when Isabella was walking her dog Rocco near Close's apartment in Denver, Colorado. An argument erupted between Close and the couple when Isabella allowed her dog to relieve itself on the lawn outside Close's flat. Close confronted them, angrily asking if she was going to train her dog or just yell at it. Darian defended Isabella and Rocco, but Close, armed with a stolen AK-47 belonging to his friend, Police Sergeant Dan Politica, he opened fire, shooting 25 rounds at them. Isabella was killed instantly, and Darian sustained injuries but survived. Following the shooting, Sergeant Politica resigned from the police force. Close fled the scene with the assault rifle and a handgun, hiding in the mountains before being apprehended on Highway 285. Earlier that day, Close had sent threatening messages to his ex-girlfriend regarding an unrelated incident at a dog park. During the trial, Close pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, claiming that he experienced a nervous breakdown due to childhood trauma, job losses, and stress from the COVID-19 pandemic. His defense attorney argued that Close was dissociated from reality and unaware of his actions during the shooting. However, prosecutors contended that Close was aware of his actions and cited evaluations from a court-appointed doctor. The evaluations indicated that he was not criminally insane, despite suffering from depression and self-deleting thoughts. After deliberation, the jury found Close guilty on all charges. Close wept as the verdict was read. Isabella's father, Joshua, expressed how devastated he was, emphasizing that no one truly wins in this situation. He also said that his family was shattered by the loss of his daughter. Despite Close's claims of insanity, the court determined that he was responsible for his actions, resulting in a life sentence for this tragic and senseless crime. 17. Callum Wheeler. On April 27, 2021, police community support officer Julia James was tragically murdered while walking her dog near her home in Snowdon, Kent. Her body was found in nearby Accold Wood with evidence of head injuries. Her faithful dog Toby was unharmed and by her side. Callum Wheeler, a 21-year-old from Aylsham, was arrested by detectives from the Kent and Essex Serious Crime Directorate on April 30, 2021, following a 36-hour custody extension. The Crown Prosecution Service subsequently authorized a charge of murder against Wheeler. Wheeler appeared in person at Medway Magistrates Court and was remanded back into custody, pending his next appearance at Maidstone Crown Court. During his court appearance, Wheeler notably stuck out his tongue, displaying a shocking lack of remorse. The arrest and charge of Wheeler prompted Kent officers to stage a reconstruction of Julia James's final movements, using an actress and Toby, her dog, to recreate the scene. This reconstruction was intended to gather more information about the circumstances leading up to her murder. Julia James was not only a dedicated police officer, but also a beloved member of her community. She worked in the Vulnerability Investigation Team and was deeply committed to helping survivors of domestic abuse. Colleagues and survivors alike described her as kind, caring, and unwaveringly supportive. Her husband, Paul James, and her daughter, Bethan Coles, have publicly expressed their devastation and gratitude for the support shown by the community. Bethan, who's a police officer herself, encouraged a minute's applause as a tribute to the police working on her mother's case. Julia James's impact extended far beyond her professional duties. Survivors of domestic abuse spoke of her exceptional empathy and guidance, crediting her with giving them the courage to break free from abusive relationships. The unfortunate loss of Julia James has deeply affected her friends, family, colleagues, and the wider community. The memory of Julia James and her profound dedication to helping others will undoubtedly endure as a testament to her remarkable character and compassion. On May 16, 2022, Wheeler was found guilty of murder by a jury, and as a result he was sentenced to life behind bars with a minimum of 37 years. 16. Lady Gaga's Dog Walker. In February 2021, James Howard Jackson, along with accomplices Harold White, Jalen White, Lafayette Sean Whaley, and Jennifer McBride, was involved in a violent robbery targeting French bulldogs in Hollywood. This incident gained attention because the victim, Ryan Fisher, was Lady Gaga's dog walker. Jackson pleaded no contest to attempted murder and was sentenced to 21 years in prison on December 5, 2022. The motive behind the robbery was the high value of French bulldogs, not their connection to Lady Gaga. Jackson and his associates targeted Fisher while driving around Los Angeles looking for valuable dogs. They found Fisher walking Lady Gaga's dogs, Koji, Gustav, and Asia, and violently attacked him. During the robbery, Jackson shot Fisher, causing serious injuries. Fisher, in a statement posted on Instagram and shared in court, described the harrowing attack and the impact it had on him. He recounted the struggle to protect the dogs and his physical and emotional trauma from being beaten, strangled, and shot. Fisher suffered significant injuries, including the removal of part of his lung, and continues to undergo physical therapy. Despite the severity of the attack, Fisher said that he'd forgiven Jackson and the others involved, acknowledging the profound impact the incident had on his life. McBride, who was charged in connection with the crime, returned the stolen dogs a few days later, but she only did this after Lady Gaga offered a $500,000 reward for their safe return. It has been reported, though, that Gaga will not be paying McBride the money. In addition to Jackson, Harold White pleaded no contest to a firearms charge, while McBride's case was ongoing until December 2022, when she was sentenced to 2 years of probation. Jalen White and Lafayette Sean Whaley previously pleaded no contest to robbery charges related to the incident. Whaley was ultimately sentenced to 6 years in state prison, and Jalen White was sentenced to 4 years. Harold White's sentencing has yet to be seen. Jackson's case also involved complications when he was mistakenly released from jail due to a clerical error earlier in the year, but was later recaptured. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office explained that Jackson's plea agreement ensures accountability for a violent crime and provides justice for the victim, Ryan Fisher. Lady Gaga's representatives did not immediately comment on the case, but the singer-actress was undoubtedly shaken by the whole ordeal and was likely thrilled to get her beloved dogs back after they were stolen. 15. Hendrick, the French Bulldog. Speaking of stealing French bulldogs, in northeast Washington, D.C., Tiffany Worthy experienced the devastating theft of her French bulldog Hendrick during the early morning hours of November 25, 2023, shortly after returning from a walk. Worthy, emotionally distraught, described Hendrick as her support and anchor, making his disappearance profoundly painful. Surveillance footage from Worthy's doorbell camera captured the moment when 2 cars pulled up in front of her home. A man exited one of the vehicles, approached her door, snatched Hendrick, and then quickly drove away, threatening Worthy's life in the process. The man who stole Hendrick wielded a taser, according to police reports. The suspect fled the scene in a black Nissan with tinted windows and temporary tags. The incident was part of a series of French bulldog thefts in the area. Worthy offered a personal reward of $2,500 and initiated a GoFundMe campaign to secure the services of a private investigator. But Hendrick was later recovered by the Violent Crime Suppression Division in the 1200 block of Moore Street Northeast on November 28, 2023. The dog was recovered following an operation conducted in coordination with detectives of the 5th District. Although Hendrick was recovered, the investigation remains active, particularly in identifying and apprehending the robbery suspect. The suspect was described as a 5'5" black male with distinctive colorful shoes. The incident highlights the distressing trend of pet thefts, especially targeting French bulldogs. Worthy's determination and community efforts demonstrate the resilience and solidarity necessary to combat such crimes and bring pet owners closure and peace of mind. 14. Scott Harris gets mugged. In Philadelphia's Brewery Town neighborhood, Scott Harris, a 62-year-old Navy veteran, was brutally attacked and robbed while walking his dog late on Saturday, August 26, 2023. He noticed a large gathering in the area, which later turned into a chaotic situation. Harris was assaulted, knocked unconscious, and had his wallet stolen. But the wallet didn't contain any cash. Instead, it contained sentimental items like his late mother's driver's license. Harris, who served in Iraq and Ukraine, said that he was shocked that such a violent incident occurred so close to his home without any prior issues. He said that the attack was senseless, especially given his peaceful experiences in his neighborhood. The assault left Harris needing stitches and without the cherished memento of his mother's driver's license. Despite the trauma, Harris appreciated the kindness of strangers who helped him return home safely after the attack. As of now, no arrests have been made, and the police have not disclosed information about potential suspects involved in the assault. Scott Harris remains determined to continue living in Brewery Town, but will exercise greater caution following this ordeal. 13. Clifton Cal Styles. On March 12, 2022, in the mid-city area of Los Angeles, 52-year-old Marco Sandoval was tragically murdered while walking his dog near Genesee Avenue and Saturn Street. A dark sedan pulled up, and the suspect, later identified as Clifton Cal Styles, exited the vehicle. He exchanged words with Sandoval, then fired multiple shots at him before fleeing northbound on Genesee Avenue. Sandoval was discovered by a passerby at around 6:15 a.m. and was pronounced dead at the scene by paramedics. The Los Angeles Police Department's West Bureau homicide detectives launched an investigation into the murder. Styles, a 21-year-old from San Marcos, Texas, was identified as the suspect based on investigative leads and coordination with the FBI Fugitive Task Force. Styles had traveled cross-country, possibly suffering from mental illness, and had randomly targeted Sandoval during his journey. Detectives determined that Styles drove a charcoal-grey 2020 Ford Fusion SE with temporary Texas tags. After the murder, Styles traveled from Texas to Florida and then drove cross-country to Los Angeles, where he committed the violent and unprovoked act against Sandoval. After that, Styles traveled to San Diego before returning to San Marcos, Texas. Following intensive investigation and collaboration with the San Marcos Police Department, Styles was arrested at his residence in Texas on April 27, 2022. He was booked as a fugitive on a murder warrant and will be extradited to Los Angeles to face charges. Authorities are concerned that Styles may have been involved in other acts of predatory violence given his erratic travel pattern and behavior. The LAPD's West Bureau homicide detectives urge anyone with additional information about Styles or related incidents to contact them. The motive for Sandoval's murder remains unknown, leaving the community shocked and grieving the loss of a beloved individual. Sandoval's dog, fortunately, was unharmed during the attack and was safely returned home. The case is ongoing. It's also unclear if Styles is still in Texas or if he's already in custody in Los Angeles. 12. Eagle Attack. In central Saanich, Canada, a warning was issued by James Younger. James was the owner of Central Saanich Dog Walking. The warning was issued after an 85-year-old woman reported an eagle attack on her small dog in Centennial Park in May of 2020. The incident occurred while the woman was walking her two dogs, one weighing about 40 pounds and the other one around 10 pounds. According to Younger, an eagle swooped down and landed on top of the smaller dog, grabbing its harness. The woman managed to keep hold of the leash and began yelling, causing the eagle to release the dog unharmed. Although the dog was not injured, the elderly couple was understandably shaken by the encounter. Younger, who's been a professional dog walker for 5 years, explained that this was the first time he encountered someone who experienced such an attack firsthand. He observed heightened eagle activity in the vicinity, with eagles seen flying through the park in a manner suggestive of reconnaissance and targeting. This behavior is likely a result of the eagles feeding their young eaglets in a nest nearby. Centennial Park, a popular area for dog walkers like Younger, is adjacent to the eagle's nest and has become a site of concern due to the recent incidents. Younger advised dog owners to remain vigilant and keep smaller dogs on a leash while walking in the park to prevent similar encounters with the birds. This story shows why it's important to be careful and safe when you're outside in areas where you might encounter wildlife. Younger's message reminds pet owners to be cautious and take steps to keep their animals safe from birds of prey, especially during nesting seasons when animals might act more aggressively to protect their babies. 11. She lost her face. On the eve of her 22nd birthday and just days before Christmas in 2021, Jacqueline Durant suffered a horrific attack after being tasked with dog walking and dog sitting in Coppell, Texas. Upon entering Justin and Ashley Bishop's home, she was immediately mauled by Lucy, a German Shepherd mix, and Bender, a boxer and pit bull mix. The dogs savagely tore off her nose, ears, lips, and cheeks, leaving her in critical condition. The ordeal lasted for 37 harrowing minutes before first responders could safely enter the house, with police body camera footage showing the dogs preventing anyone from assisting Durant. Eventually, a medic rescued her, and she was rushed to Medical City Plano Hospital, having lost nearly 30% of her blood. The delay in rescue was attributed to responders not immediately realizing the extent of Durant's injuries due to the dogs blocking their view. Remarkably though, she survived the attack, which occurred when the dogs rushed her after the front door was left open, triggering a security alarm. Justin and Ashley Bishop claimed to have obtained the dogs from rescue organizations and denied any prior issues. However, signs on the door warning about crazy dogs suggested negligence, according to a lawsuit filed by Duran's lawyer, Chip Brooker. An expert examination of the dogs post-attack revealed dangerous and aggressive tendencies. Durand underwent a grueling 7-hour emergency surgery and was resuscitated multiple times. She spent a week in a medically induced coma, enduring extensive skin grafts to reconstruct her face. Despite facing countless surgeries and ongoing physical therapy, Durand remains determined and optimistic. Receiving overwhelming support from her family and boyfriend Nathan, Durand's resilience and positive outlook inspire hope. She dreams of returning to work with animals, showcasing her indomitable spirit to overcome this traumatic experience. With the steadfast support of her loved ones and medical professionals, Durand remains focused on her recovery and a future filled with countless possibilities. 10. Alligator Attack. In February 2023, Gloria Serge, an 85-year-old woman, tragically lost her life when she was attacked and killed by a 10-foot alligator while walking her dog near a pond in the Spanish Lakes Fairways development in Fort Pierce, southeast Florida. The incident occurred after Serge was limited to walking her dog on the property or on a development-owned dog run, located more than a mile away from her house. The pond where the attack happened was in her backyard. Serge's family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the real estate company, Wynn Building Corporation, which owns and operates the subdivision. The lawsuit alleges that the company encouraged or compelled Serge to walk near the pond, despite being aware of the presence of large and dangerous alligators in the area. It claims the residents and subdivision staff were allowed to feed wildlife, including the alligator involved in the attack, which led to the animals becoming accustomed to human contact. The lawsuit contends that the property owners had a duty to identify and remove dangerous conditions, such as large alligators from the community. The law firm representing Serge's family, Lesser, Landy & Smith PLLC, stated that a statewide nuisance alligator program existed with a hotline for removing alligators over 4 feet long. The alligator responsible for Serge's death, known as Henry, exceeded this length and could have been removed safely with a simple phone call, according to the law firm. In response to the lawsuit, Joel Wynn, president of Wynn Building Corporation, expressed sympathy for Serge's family. However, he explained that this was the first such incident in the 37-year history of the development, despite the known presence of alligators. Bill Serge, Gloria Serge's son, stated that the family pursued legal action to prevent similar tragedies from happening to others. He talked about how hard it was to lose his mother in such a tragic way, and emphasized the need to make sure those responsible are held accountable to keep people safe in other neighborhoods like theirs. Although alligator attacks are rare in Florida, the lawsuit underscores the need for property managers to take proactive steps to identify and mitigate potential risks associated with wildlife in residential areas. This is especially important for communities catering to elderly residents like Spanish Lakes Fairways. 9. Hit and Run. In Chigwell, Essex, on Friday, December 22, 2023, a tragic hit-and-run incident occurred at around 5 p.m. on Manford Way, resulting in the death of a 48-year-old woman who was walking her 2 dogs. The driver involved was operating a White-Seed Leon that struck the woman and her pets before fleeing the scene without stopping. Police quickly located the abandoned car near the crash site shortly after the emergency. Emergency services, including the London Ambulance Service and London's Air Ambulance, arrived at 5:09 p.m. But unfortunately, the woman succumbed to her injuries and passed away at the scene. The family of the deceased woman's been notified, and they're receiving support from specialized officers during this difficult time. As of now, no arrests have been made in connection with the hit and run. Police are actively investigating to locate the registered keeper of the vehicle. Authorities are urging anyone with information about the driver or the circumstances surrounding the incident to come forward and assist in the ongoing inquiries. The search for the driver of the White-Seed Leon remains a priority for law enforcement, stressing the seriousness of the hit and run and the need for accountability in this tragic case. 8. Aggressive Giraffe. In northeastern South Africa in May of 2010, something horrible occurred at a game farm in Limpopo province involving a 25-year-old woman and her 2 dogs. According to reports from South Africa's Beeld newspaper, one of the woman's dogs ran towards a herd of giraffes, startling them. Then, in an attempt to protect her dog, the woman intervened, which led to a giraffe kicking her in the neck. The impact of the giraffe's kick proved fatal, resulting in the woman's death at the scene. Giraffes, although herbivores that primarily eat leaves and are not predatory, possess powerful legs capable of delivering lethal blows when they feel threatened. 7. Frederick Ingrando. In March 2024, Frederick Ingrando, a 33-year-old dog walker, faced charges of animal cruelty after being caught on video hitting a dog in Medford, Massachusetts. He pleaded not guilty at his arraignment in Somerville District Court, which took place on the Monday following his arrest. The incident occurred at around 11 a.m. on a Sunday morning when Ingrando was walking a group of dogs near Fellsway West and Sheridan Avenue. According to witnesses, Ingrando started hitting a golden retriever while yelling, "Do not give me attitude." He allegedly struck the dog multiple times in the head and lifted it off the ground by its collar in a harmful manner. A neighbor, Kurt Ford, intervened when he heard screaming. Ford claimed that he witnessed Ingrando holding the dog by the collar and using his leg to trip the dog to the ground, resembling a wrestling move. One of the witnesses recorded the incident on video and called the police after Ingrando began swearing and using racial slurs towards them. Medford police officers watched the video, then proceeded to Ingrando's residence and arrested him. The dogs involved were taken to a safe location where they could be retrieved by their owners. The injured dog was brought to a local veterinarian for evaluation. It's important to note that Ingrando did not own any of the dogs. He was hired by pet owners through the Rover app. During his arraignment, Ingrando was ordered to stay away from the dogs and their owners. He was released on a promise to return for a pre-trial hearing scheduled for April 30th. In response to the incident, a spokesperson from Rover stated that they removed Ingrando's account from their app, expressing shock and disturbance at the reported behavior. Ingrando made a statement as he left court, declaring his love for dogs and denying the severity of the situation, while his father criticized reporters for covering the story. 6. Diana B. In late 2021, the body of a Hungarian woman, identified only as Diana B., was discovered in Kaiserslautern, Germany, dressed in a tracksuit and without any identification. Diana, a 48-year-old maid from Oslo, Hungary, had traveled to Germany seeking employment opportunities. After attempting to secure jobs in Munich and Stuttgart, she eventually found work as a live-out maid for an American family. Diana was reported missing on December 4th, and her disappearance was registered on the Hungarian police's official website. 10 days later, on December 14th, her body was found in Kaiserslautern on Stahlbonschen Street. Due to the lack of identification, local police sought help from the public to identify her based on her clothing and tattoo, ultimately confirming her identity as Diana. Shortly before Christmas, a suspect was reportedly arrested in connection with Diana's murder. However, the individual denied involvement, so authorities continued their search for the perpetrator or possible accomplice. Diana's friends and family were devastated by the news of her death. A friend described Diana as a kind and hard-working woman who had gone to Germany in pursuit of a better life. Her sudden disappearance deeply affected her loved ones, especially her mother in Hungary, who maintained hope until January that Diana would return. The investigation into Diana's murder remains ongoing and intensive, with numerous questions surrounding the case. Police suspect that Diana may not have been killed at the location where her body was found and are searching for witnesses who may have seen suspicious activity in the vicinity. Authorities speculate that Diana's body may have been transported to the scene in a trash can, shopping cart, wheelbarrow, or large sack during the evening or nighttime. They believe that Diana was taken while she was walking a dog, then was killed somewhere else. A special investigation group's been established to assist in unraveling the circumstances of Diana's murder. Local police urge anyone with information related to the crime or the transportation of the body to come forward, stressing the importance of eyewitness accounts to aid in solving the case. 5. Teenage killers. In 2023, 3 teenagers were detained for the manslaughter of John Hackett, a 36-year-old dog walker in Nuneaton, Warwickshire. The incident occurred following a confrontation in a park where Hackett had been verbally abused by the defendants. On April 25th, at around 6:15 p.m., the teenagers physically attacked Hackett after he confronted them about their behavior. Hackett, who cared for and lived with his devastated mother, sustained injuries to his head and chest during the assault. Police attended the scene and spoke to the attackers, who claimed they acted in self-defense. Later that evening, Hackett was found in distress at his home, and although he discharged himself from the hospital, he tragically collapsed and died the following morning. The teenagers, aged 15 and 16, along with a 16-year-old girl, were handed detention and training orders by Mr. Justice Chowdhury KC at Warwick Crown Court. The 16-year-old girl received an 18-month sentence. The 15-year-old boy was sentenced to 2 years, and the 16-year-old boy was also handed a 2-year sentence. John Hackett's family described him as a much-loved son, brother, nephew, and cousin, and condemned the mindless act of violence that led to his death. They expressed their profound grief and stated that Hackett had been bullied and tormented for weeks leading up to the tragic incident. The level of violence exhibited by the offenders was described as shocking by the detective police inspector, with some of the attack filmed by members of the group on their mobile phones. This situation shows how violent actions can have unexpected and serious results. Hackett's family is deeply upset and saddened by his sudden and tragic death. The Detective Chief Inspector, only identified by his last name O'Keefe, identified that while the offenders may not have intended to kill Mr. Hackett, the consequences of their actions were tragic and irreversible. She warned that violence has serious repercussions and urged people to consider the devastating impact it can have on individuals and their families. Despite the sentencing, nothing can undo the loss suffered by Hackett's family, but O'Keefe hoped they could now begin to rebuild their lives after such a harrowing ordeal. 4. Annette Poitras. In November 2017, a dog walker named Annette Poitras went missing while walking 3 dogs in Coquitlam, British Columbia. After an extensive 3-day search, she was found alive and well in a backcountry area. Poitras, who was 56 at the time, had spent 2 nights in the rain-soaked wilderness before rescuers located her shortly after 11 a.m. on November 22nd. Rescue crews airlifted Poitras and the 3 dogs to safety at around 2 p.m. using a long-line helicopter rescue. Her family greeted her with cheers when she was safely brought out of the steep terrain. Marcel Poitras, her husband, expressed immense relief upon hearing the news of her rescue, saying, "I couldn't breathe, it was just amazing." He humorously mentioned waiting until she got home before giving her a hard time. Annette Poitras was found in an off-limits area for hikers and dog walkers, far from where she was last seen, according to Corporal Michael McLaughlin of Coquitlam Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Despite being sore, she was able to communicate with rescuers. It remains unclear just how Poitras strayed so far from the trail. A search and rescue official mentioned that she took shelter under a log to stay dry and seemed in good spirits despite slipping and injuring her rib on a log. The thick, wet, and slippery terrain made the search challenging, with dense underbrush hindering the use of infrared sensors from helicopters. In the face of these difficulties, rescuers miraculously located Poitras in relatively good condition. Rescuers provided her with dry clothes before airlifting her out by helicopter and then transporting her to the hospital. Following her rescue, 2 more helicopter trips were made to safely retrieve the dogs, an older puggle named Bubba, a border collie named Chloe, and a young boxer named Roxy. Marcel Poitras was extremely thankful for the extensive search efforts by crews from across British Columbia and encouraged supporting local search and rescue teams. He stressed the importance of cherishing loved ones, urging people to hold on to them in light of the miraculous rescue of his wife. 3. Bobcat vs. Dog Walker. In November 2023, a woman had a terrifying encounter with a wild bobcat while out walking her dog. The incident occurred during what started as a routine walk with her pet, which quickly turned into a fight for survival. The woman was seen on video screaming as she tried to fend off the aggressive bobcat, which relentlessly pursued her and her dog. Despite yelling and attempting to deter the animal, the bobcat continued its attack. The woman struggled to protect herself and her dog, even lifting her pet off the ground with its leash to keep it safe. As the woman tried to reach the safety of her home, the bobcat persisted and followed them closely. At one point, she managed to keep the bobcat away, causing it to momentarily back away. However, the Bobcat remained determined, and as the woman opened the front door, it tried to enter the house. The situation escalated when the Bobcat nearly entered the home, prompting the woman to scream in distress. Fortunately though, she was able to quickly shut the door behind her, preventing the Bobcat from getting inside. Moments later, the Bobcat calmly walked away from the house. The intense encounter underscored the danger posed by wild animals like bobcats, despite their relatively small size. The woman's desperate efforts to protect herself and her dog shed light on the frightening reality of encountering such wildlife unexpectedly. The video of the incident, captured by a doorbell camera, went viral online. 2. Who killed Toya Cordingley? In October 2018, Toya Cordingley, a 24-year-old woman and animal lover, went missing after taking her dog for a walk on Wangetti Beach, which is located 25 miles north of Cairns, Queensland. Her body was discovered the following day in the beach dunes, showing signs of violent injuries. The murder deeply shocked the local community. The investigation into Toya's murder received an overwhelming response from the public, with over 240 reports made to Crime Stoppers. Detective Inspector Sonia Smith confirmed that around 50 of these reports provided potential new leads for investigators. But despite this, the police were still struggling to identify the perpetrator. Police divers conducted searches at Wangetti Beach, which remained a crime scene. Forensic teams used dogs to scour the area for evidence that could assist in solving the case. Detective Inspector Smith urged anyone with information, regardless of how insignificant they might think it is, to come forward. Various initiatives were implemented to encourage witnesses to step forward, including Crime Spotters displays at local markets and Wangetti Beach to jog memories. Investigators were particularly interested in speaking to individuals who frequented the Wangetti car park or interacted with Toya at Rusty's markets on the day she disappeared. Then, in November 2022, Queensland Police announced a historic $1 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Rajwinder Singh, a suspect in Toya Cordingley's murder. Singh was located in India, and following his arrest and waiver of extradition charges, he was brought to Cairns in March 2023. He was then charged with murder. The trial for Toya Cordingley's murder was scheduled to commence in July 2023 at the Supreme Court in Cairns. However, there were delays and the proceedings were pushed to July 22, 2024. So, we'll have to wait and see what punishment he receives. And now for number 1. But if you want to hear more bizarre and crazy stories, stay tuned after the video for some more content. 1. Down the storm drain. In Vinings, an Atlanta area neighborhood about 10 miles northwest of downtown Atlanta, firefighters rescued a puppy named Mitchie after he fell into a storm drain on Thursday, May 18, 2023. Mitchie became trapped in the drain, which was approximately 15 feet deep while walking with his owner. Cobb County Fire and Emergency Services responded to the scene after receiving the call for help. Multiple fire rescue squads arrived and worked together to safely extract Mitchie from the storm drain. Photos shared online depicted firefighters gathered around the drain's opening during the rescue operation. After assessing the conditions inside the drain, crews successfully lifted Mitchie to safety and reunited him with his owner. Although it's unclear how long Mitchie was trapped in the drain, authorities confirmed that the puppy was unharmed by the incident. The successful rescue received praise and appreciation from local residents, who expressed their gratitude and admiration for the firefighters' efforts on social media platforms. This rescue wasn't the first of its kind for Cobb County Fire and Emergency Services. In a similar incident the previous month, firefighters responded to a call from teachers who reported another dog stuck in a storm drain. They successfully freed the distressed canine and facilitated the dog's adoption. The heartwarming rescue highlights the dedicated and compassionate work of emergency responders in safeguarding both human and animal lives within the community. Residents and online followers commended the firefighters for their professionalism and commitment to protecting local residents and their beloved pets.
Number 11. Clover, the quick-thinking canine. Haley Moore was walking her dog, Clover, in their Stittsville, Ottawa neighborhood one morning last year when she collapsed and had a seizure. The young woman doesn't remember anything that happened between then and when she woke up in an ambulance, but she later learned that the 1.5-year-old rescue pup had stepped in and saved her life. Security footage from a neighbor's home shows Clover rushing over to Haley and then watching passing traffic. The mixed-breed K9 then pulled her leash away from her incapacitated guardian's grasp, went into the road, and stopped an oncoming truck, getting attention of the driver, Drayden Otway. He followed the dog to Haley. Otway rang a neighbor's doorbell and alerted them to what was going on so they could summon help, then went back to Haley to do what he could to care for her. In the meantime, another neighbor saw what was going on and rushed over. Clover reluctantly left Haley's side with neighbors to let her parents, Randall and Diane, know what had happened. By the time they returned to the scene, their daughter was being treated by paramedics. While the cause of Haley's seizure was a mystery, the Moore family felt much better knowing that she had her canine companion and protector with her when it happened. Number 10. Gutsy German Shepherd. 40-year-old Gino Wenzel was exercising his German Shepherd, Duke, just outside Cape Town in South Africa one day in 2019 when he was approached by an armed robber. Wenzel saw the thief coming at him with a knife and had little time to react. Duke growled at the man, who plunged the knife into the canine's head. But the brave dog was not about to relent and was prepared to protect his owner at all costs. He kept fighting and managed to scare the robber off before collapsing from his injury. Duke lost a lot of blood, and at first Wenzel thought he was dead. But he noticed that Duke was still breathing and called a friend from a local animal rescue group who helped get the ailing canine into emergency care. The pup managed to make a miraculous recovery from the horrifying wound, even after x-rays revealed that the knife had penetrated his skull. Number 9. Feline saves fallen owner. 84-year-old Ron Williams was living alone in Sturgis, Michigan in 2020 when someone brought him a male cat named Fluffy to keep him company. The pair hit it off right away and soon developed a close-knit bond. Just like any other pet owner, Ron talked with Fluffy a lot. Whenever his phone rang, he would jokingly say, "Ring-a-ding." Ron didn't see this mindless chit-chat as a big deal until he slipped and fell in his bathroom one day and couldn't get up. He laid on the floor for 16 hours with his arm pinned beneath him, not sure what he could possibly do to get the help he needed. The door was closed, his life alert was in another room, and his cell phone was nearby, but out of reach. Luckily for Ron, Fluffy was also in the room. Not knowing what else to do, he said, "Ring-a-ding, Fluffy, you're my only hope." To Ron's surprise, his cell phone fell off the counter and hit his hand less than 5 minutes later. It was as if Fluffy had connected the word ring-a-ding with Ron's phone and knew to get the device to his ailing guardian, who was then able to call for help. Speaking with Fox News after his rescue, Ron credited Fluffy with saving his life, stating that if it weren't for the observant feline, he would have likely died. Number 8. Heroic Shepherd. In what New Hampshire State Police described as a real-life Lassie situation, a Shiloh shepherd named Tinsley tracked down help after her owner was in a serious car crash in the middle of winter. It happened just a few days into the new year when police received a call about a dog running loose on Interstate 89. They chased after the canine and were led to the accident scene, where they found a driver and passenger who had been ejected from a pickup truck. The pair were injured and experiencing hypothermia in the bone-chilling below-freezing temperatures. They needed medical attention and probably wouldn't have made it through the night if Tinsley hadn't led police to them, according to Lieutenant Dan Baldassar, who spoke with CNN. Tinsley's owner, Cam Laundrie, told the outlet that the pup is his guardian angel and said that he's grateful she came to his rescue. He added that it's a miracle that Tinsley had the intelligence to carry out the heroic deed and that he would reward her with her favorite things: treats, meat, and attention. Number 7. Scotty the Hero Horse. Back in 2010, 68-year-old Robert Bennington Jr. visited his brother's farm in Streator, Illinois, known as the Old Moon Farm, and was attacked by a pack of coyotes. He visited the property every morning to feed the horses that lived there. But that morning, things went wildly astray from the normal routine. 5 hungry coyotes charged toward Bennington without warning, leaving him helpless to defend himself against them. Bennington saw one of the horses, named Scotty, grazing in a nearby field and called out to him for help. The dutiful horse, who was known for his typically gentle and calm demeanor, fled to Bennington's aid and put himself between the coyotes and their intended victim. Scotty reared, galloped, whinnied, and stomped the ground angrily to intimidate them. In the meantime, 3 other horses approached and stood in unison with Scotty, forming a protective barrier around Bennington so that the coyotes couldn't get to him. They loyally fought back as the coyotes repeatedly tried to charge at Bennington, and eventually the intruders went away. Everyone was okay, thanks to the quick-thinking animals who stepped in on a moment's notice to keep their caretaker safe from harm. Number 6. Pirin the cat. Last summer, an 83-year-old woman fell into a ravine in Cornwall, England. She was out of sight and in a place where nobody could see her, suffering and in need of help. But she was rescued thanks to her quick-thinking cat, Pirin, who alerted members of the public to her presence. After taking the fall and not being seen for a while, the woman was reported missing. Police were helping look for her when Pirin got their attention by standing near the location where his owner fell and meowing loudly and repeatedly. By then, the search had started to seem hopeless, as volunteers had looked practically everywhere they could think of. Knowing that Pirin was attached to his owner and that he was trying to tell them something important, they took his incessant meowing as a cue. The ailing woman was found by a large cornfield near her house, where she had landed after falling roughly 70 feet, 21 meters down a steep embankment. Emergency responders managed to pull her to safety and then took her to a hospital for treatment, which may have never happened if Pirin hadn't led search team members to his owner. Shortly after the incident, USA Today reported that the woman was in good spirits after being rescued and receiving medical care. Number 5. Rescue dog rescues owner. In late 2020, 59-year-old Brian Myers adopted a 6-month-old German Shepherd named Sadie from the Ramapo Bergen Animal Refuge in New Jersey. Just a few months later, he found himself thanking the canine for returning the favor and giving him a second chance at life. Before Sadie left the shelter, it became clear to staff members that she has a tendency to become nervous around men. But she and Brian nevertheless formed a special bond, and she found a forever home with her new guardian. When Brian suffered a stroke early last year, Sadie stayed by his side the entire time, licking his face in an apparent effort to keep him conscious. She also reportedly helped pull him across the room so he could reach a phone and call for help. Without Sadie, Brian may not have been able to get the urgent medical care he needed, according to a Facebook post by the Ramapo Bergen Animal Refuge. This heartwarming story of a beloved pet giving back to their owner reminds us of how sometimes we need animals just as much as they need us. During Brian's recovery at a rehab center, Sadie stayed with relatives and they stayed in contact every night through video chat. Number 4. Dogs save trapped owners after avalanche. A couple had their dogs to thank for saving their lives after becoming trapped during a terrifying avalanche in the Swiss Alps in early 2021. The pair were hiking one afternoon when the sudden influx of snow swept them off the trail in southwestern Switzerland, near the Italian border. They were buried under the cold, but luckily their dogs weren't, and the canines wasted no time letting anyone and everyone nearby know that their owners needed help by barking as loudly as possible. Some nearby snowshoers who were in the same valley but had not witnessed the avalanche overheard the dogs barking and headed toward the noise. They arrived between 15 and 20 minutes later and noticed one of the hikers' hands sticking up out of the snow. The other person was completely buried. The snowshoers worked tirelessly to save the stranded hikers, digging through the snow until the pair were freed. Thanks to their dogs and the diligent rescuers who paid attention to the barking, the couple survived with hypothermia and mild injuries and were airlifted to the hospital for treatment. Needless to say, things could have turned out much worse if even just a few more minutes had passed. Number 3. A K9 King. Lucretia Slappy had just arrived at her home in North Carolina after working a graveyard shift one day in early 2021 when she lay down and quickly fell asleep. Not long after that, she awoke to her dog, King, tugging on her hair and scratching her. It was completely out of character for him to behave like that, and Slappy instantly knew that something must be wrong. She quickly realized that her home was on fire and the King was trying to lead her to safety. Speaking with local station WECT, she said that she felt like she was going to die, so she busted out the window, only to feel like the heat surrounding her had intensified. Fire crews ended up saving the pair, and Lucretia said that she felt like divine intervention had brought her and King together, and that it enabled them both to survive the catastrophic blaze. Slappy's sister, Sean T. Middleton, told the station that King was given to Lucretia the year prior after the devastating loss of her son. The fire happened weeks before the one-year anniversary of his passing approached, making King's heroic deed all the more remarkable to Lucretia and her family. Number 2. Sandy the rescue dog saves elderly owner. One day in mid-2020, 88-year-old Gwendolyn Johnson tripped as she walked out the front door of her Glendale, California home and fell in the driveway. She couldn't get up and was unable to call for help, leaving her stranded on the ground in the hot summer sun. Johnson later told NBC Los Angeles that while she wasn't really injured, she was stuck and needed help getting back on her feet. She saw a nearby sanitation worker but was out of his view, making it difficult for her to get his attention. As he walked up Johnson's driveway with her freshly emptied trash cans in tow, she said to her rescue dog Sandy, "Go get him." Sandy sprang out into the driveway and ran toward the man, who was later identified as Kirk White of Glendale Integrated Waste Management. White knew something was wrong when Sandy approached him and wouldn't stop barking, as if to let him know that his help was needed. He followed the pup to where Johnson had fallen, helped her up and made sure she wasn't injured before continuing with his workday. Speaking with NBC Los Angeles, Johnson said that Sandy was always a good boy and that White came up her driveway at the right time. The harrowing rescue was captured on camera, and when Johnson's family members watched it, they cried. Johnson's granddaughter, Cheryl Malva, told local station KTLA-5 that in addition to Sandy's heroic actions, White also deserves praise because he took the time to investigate the dog's behavior, realize something was wrong, and take action, and not everyone bothers. Number 1. Brave Border Collie. While jogging together through a park in Prince George, British Columbia in 2016, 46-year-old Reed Roberts and his border collie, Pacer, encountered a black bear mother and her 2 cubs. It wasn't the first time the pair had crossed paths with a black bear, but it was their first run-in with a protective mama bear who was ready to defend her offspring against even the slightest perceived threat. During the previous encounter, the bear was farther away and made a bluff charge at Roberts and his dog. This time, however, she attacked full force and without warning. Roberts later recalled in a Facebook post how surreal it felt when he realized that this was no bluff charge and that he was about to experience the real deal. He described how the bear swatted at him with her front paws while he kicked in self-defense, and that he remembers little else before ending up on the ground off the trail. Pacer came to his guardian's defense by attacking the bear, which served as a temporary distraction. The bear came at Roberts a second time, making him think he was a goner for sure. But Pacer attacked the bear again and then took off down a trail, and the bear chased after him, giving Roberts a chance to seek safety. He wrapped his mangled hand in a t-shirt, dialed 911, and was rescued.
Do you think you would have a better chance at fighting off an alligator or a bobcat in order to protect your beloved dog? Let us know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you in the next one. Bye!